the right direction. So it seems to me that in the future there's a huge potential for this industry in India.
What do you think about the future of pharmacy in India?
Pharmacy? Well, I'm not really familiar with pharmacy training. I'm an academic and been training pharmacists for many years. I will get an opportunity in the next few days to visit one particular institution to have a look at the pharmacy training. But I must say that I have had several Indian postdoctoral fellows. I'm very impressed with them. They've been really great students. They come with a lot of skills and a lot of expertise, and they've been an asset. And if I had more and funding for them, I would take more Indian postdoctoral students.
What are the challenges in carrying out the bioequivalent studies on biosimilar?
That's a very good question. I would really see biosimilars as a next step to bioequivalence testing. Most of our experience has been in assessing bioequivalence for small molecules. Biosimilar is for biologics, and there is not a whole lot of experience. The problem is, unlike small molecules, where chemical structure essentially is a quality parameter to say these two products are similar, you can't do the same thing with the proteins. And so there is a level of complexity there or difficulty there in terms of saying the two products are equal. And when the two products are not equal, their immunogenicity response could be very different. So it's not so much of just matching, let's say, concentration time profile, but also immunogenicity profile of the product. So it's a little more complicated than testing bioequivalence for small molecules. And I don't think currently in the entire world there is enough experience in doing similar testing of the products.
What is the cost involved in carrying out bioavailability and bioequivalence studies? Is it different for different types of products?
I can give you, it's different for different type of products for sure. For normal bioequivalency testing, depending on where you do it, so I can give you a US perspective. A general bio study would cost 100,000 or 200,000 at a lower side, all the way to $1 million. What governs this price is it going to be 2-period study? Is it going to be 12, 24 subjects as against 4-period study with 100 subjects? So that will basically determine the cost of the study. There are other issues that one needs to then consider. If you don't do the study in US, if you want to do the study outside, the cost does come down. But then the concern about the quality does go up, because you essentially are going in areas where you don't have much experience. And I'm talking from a big US pharma perspective, because that's where I work. So what I see is a clearer trend of biostudies moving from the developed world, or the West if you will, to areas like India and maybe some other areas.
How is India positioned in the development of biosimilars?
I don't think there is any doubt that from a design standpoint, India cannot do such a study. As I said earlier in my comment, when it comes to biosimilar, there is in general very little experience.
How do you see the opportunities for the contract research organizations in India in the field of bioequivalence trials?
I would say it's the primordial, and then it's going to be very key in future, because without the contract research organizations, it's very difficult to take up the bioequivalence and bioavailability studies. Even though a lot of formulation manufacturers do have their own CROs, in future the need would be more for the independent and then dedicated CROs. What happens is you have a pharmaceutical manufacturer who actually does the manufacture of a drug, and then he also would like to conduct a bio study for it. But when it comes to his competitor, he may not be able to do it. Essentially, I find pharmaceutical manufacturers should manufacture drugs. They shouldn't actually go for bioequivalence studies. They should rather go for BIOBIO centers who take care of that. I'm sure in future, the problem of the conflict of interest would also be avoided if they actually give out the BIOBIO studies to CROs. So the future is very bright.
What are the challenges in bioequivalence testing?
Yes. Bioequivalence test, as you know, essentially is a test and a reference drug equivalence study. You just try to find that a multinational drug and your drug, what you manufacture in India, is on par. That's what is known as the bioequivalence study. But it's not as simple as that. Bioequivalence study mostly is done in healthy individuals, wherein we draw the blood samples after the drug is administered, and we try to find the pharmacokinetic, equanimity. But what happens is in future, because of the drugs which are going to the modified release forms, it's very difficult to actually get the PK, equanimity in the drug. So you try and then go for clinical endpoint studies, proof of concept studies, for the modified releases as well as the novel drug discovery systems. What I would say is that in future there would be a lot of concentration on the modified release drugs and then the proof of concept drugs. So CROs which are there now doing the normal bioequivalence studies would definitely look for more of such proof of concept studies. I'm sure the future will be very bright for them there.
Will the bioequivalence or bioavailability studies help in reducing the prices of the drugs?
Absolutely. The reason why a bioequivalence study is done, as you could know, would be to bring a generic drug into the market within the reach of common man. So a drug which is manufactured which does not have a comparator in the market would always be sold at a very higher rate which is not within the reach of the common man. So when once you bring a generic drug like ibuprofen, what we call it as a paracetamol, into the market, and you prove that it is on par with an international comparator, you find it is bioequivalent. So what Pfizer sells in US and what, let's say, Dr. Reddy's sells in India, we would find a lot of difference in terms of pricing. Generally, the pricing would be much less in India. So bioequivalence studies help general public to have the drugs available with them. So that's a major factor which really helps.
How is India placed in the field of bioavailability and bioequivalence studies?
As I was mentioning, India is now one of the best generic players in the world. As far as filings are concerned, like ANDA product filings are concerned, as well as gone are those days when India is generally treated as a country which produces a cheap generic mimicking drugs, but it's not true now. Now even India is one of the leading player which is adopting all these quality by design technologies in developing their products, and essentially even India is one of the country where they are utilizing the quality by design approach, quality by design initiative from FDA to design a product, best possible generic products using this technology.
Are bioequivalence studies particularly tough for any particular categories of products?
Especially for products having highly variable bioavailability and bioequivalence. So for such products, it's very difficult to assess a proper bioequivalence studies. And also for products which are like complex dosage forms, for example, for some controlled release, maintenance release, modified release dosage forms, who are complex and tough, it's not really easy task to develop bioequivalence studies and apply for those kind of products.
Tell me a few words about future of pharmacy in India.
We should, as a students, I believe we should concentrate on higher studies, like getting into, like once you complete your graduation, like BS, B Pharmacy, get into a good school for M Pharmacy and all, then do some good research. If possible, get into PhD programs, because see, if always qualification will never go waste. So if you are more qualified,